Rising input costs, drought, and supply chain disruptions have left many farmers and ranchers feeling frustrated and uncertain about the future. Through it all, Nebraska Farm Bureau continues to proudly work on behalf of the families who keep food on our tables, shirts on our backs, and fuel in our cars. The key to Nebraska Farm Bureau's success are the farmers and ranchers across the state who actively participate in our grassroots policy development process and engage with their elected officials. 2023 will see a new governor take office along with one of the largest classes of new state senators. Nebraska Farm Bureau has a long history of endorsing candidates for federal and state public office through its Political Action Committee.
When we got endorsed by the Nebraska Farm Bureau, it was a game changer.
In February, Nebraska Farm Bureau endorsed Jim Pillen for governor in the primary election. The endorsement process for governor began a year ago at the Nebraska Farm Bureau annual meeting. More than 400 people attended our Agriculture and Rural Issues Republican Gubernatorial Forum. Following the forum through our grassroots process, it was clear that our members believe Jim Pillen is the right person to lead our state into the future. With the full weight of Farm Bureau behind him and farmers and ranchers showing up to the polls in a big way, Jim Pillen will be Nebraska's next governor. Having elected officials who understand the importance of agriculture and the role it plays in supporting our state's economy is critical to advancing policies that will help farmers and ranchers do what they do best: grow the food we eat and ensure a vibrant future for our communities. With the support of Farm Bureau members, 82% of NEFB PAC endorsed candidates won their elections, including Representative Mike Flood in the 1st Congressional District. NEFB's endorsement helped Flood win not only the primary and general election, but also a special election in July. Being represented in Washington, D.C. is vital as Farm Bureau works to oppose excessive government regulations and continue supporting initiatives aimed at cattle market reform and solving supply chain issues. One of the largest issues gaining momentum in Congress and among the public is agriculture's role in climate solutions and policies. Ensuring environment and climate initiatives work for farm and ranch families is a policy priority set by the NEFB Board of Directors. When Farm Bureau put out the call to action to push back against an SEC proposed rule to mandate extensive climate disclosures, hundreds of Nebraska farmers and ranchers sent letters asking elected officials to oppose the rule. Farm Bureau is committed to ensuring regulations and programs work for farm and ranch families. At a critical time for farmers as they hit the field to plant, NEFB was successful in urging EPA to lift a ban on the use of 2 important crop protection products, Enlist and Enlist Duo. By bringing stories from the farm and ranch straight to Capitol Hill and Lincoln, Nebraska Farm Bureau members are impacting the decisions made by elected officials. With the help of member testimony, Nebraska Farm Bureau was instrumental in assisting the legislature pass LB 873, one of the largest tax cuts in the history of Nebraska. When fully implemented over the next 5 years, the nearly $1 billion tax relief package will save Nebraskans an estimated $886 million in property taxes per year. The additional property tax savings were built upon the extremely successful refundable income tax credits Nebraska Farm Bureau helped pass in 2020 through LB 1107. Those tax credits, which can be claimed on property taxes paid towards public education, delivered a 25% savings last year, averaging $6,319 per farm or ranch. Nebraska Farm Bureau worked to craft LB 873 so it would create a floor under those credits to ensure those savings can never decrease and will grow annually. Expanding rural connectivity to secure high-speed, high-quality internet access statewide continues to be a priority for NEFB. Thanks in part to support from Nebraska Farm Bureau, the Nebraska Broadband Bridge Act was created in 2021 to facilitate and fund the deployment of broadband networks to unserved and underserved areas in the state. Farm Bureau continued its work on connecting Nebraska in 2022, with senators passing LB 1144 to expand the act and provide more funding. Rural economic development is key to growing Nebraska. With the help of Nebraska Farm Bureau through legislative initiatives, $20 million was secured for meat processing site development. $23.1 million was dedicated to the Gering-Fort Laramie Irrigation District for tunnel and canal construction and repair, and $4 million to help address concerns about nitrate levels with reverse osmosis systems. NEFB was also instrumental in growing the Livestock Modernization Act, when the legislature increased the tax credit from $1 million to $10 million annually and adjusted the cap from $150,000 to $500,000. Nebraska Farm Bureau is the trusted voice for Nebraska farm and ranch families. Preserving that rural voice both within the state and Washington, D.C. is a top priority for Nebraska Farm Bureau. In Nebraska, our state's constitution requires that signatures for ballot measures need to be gathered from 5% of the voters in 38 counties. That requirement was challenged in court this year and would have essentially silenced the rural voice, consolidating political power to urban cities of Nebraska. But Nebraska Farm Bureau filed a brief and won, protecting the voices of thousands of Nebraska's farmers, ranchers, and those in rural communities. The drought, inputs, and other farm costs are top-of-mind concerns for farmers and ranchers across Nebraska. To help farmers and ranchers navigate the many programs available to them as drought worsened across the state, Nebraska Farm Bureau created a Drought Resources Hub on its website. Farm Bureau also brought to the forefront of the news cycle the impact drought and costs were having on Nebraska's #1 industry and what that could mean for the economy moving forward. The next generation. For many farmers and ranchers, that's what farming is all about. They take great care to make sure their farm or ranch is in better shape for the next generation. The same is true for Nebraska Farm Bureau. Growing tomorrow's leaders is a key investment of NEFB. From hosting national affairs visits to Washington, D.C. with NEFB's Leadership Academy to connecting young farmers and ranchers at our annual YF&R conference, Farm Bureau is ensuring a strong future for agriculture. One of NEFB's strong young leaders made history this year as the first Nebraskan to take home the National Young Farmers and Ranchers Excellence in Agriculture Award. Brady Revels of Douglas County was named the winner during the American Farm Bureau Federation annual convention. Revels was recognized for his ongoing involvement and commitment to agriculture. 3 Nebraska entrepreneurs also dominated the final round of the American Farm Bureau Ag Innovation Challenge, with Grain Weevil taking home the top prize of $50,000 to help grow the business. Bird's Eye Robotics was named the runner-up in the contest, and Marble Technologies was also a finalist. Growing food, growing minds, growing Nebraska. It's the work of the Nebraska Farm Bureau Foundation. This past school year, the foundation documented more than 34,000 student interactions with their staff of professional educators teaching 487 classroom lessons. The foundation re-energized Ag Week with 2.5 times materials distributed than prior years and news conferences across the state. They provided training workshops to more than 300 current and future teachers and introduced Cafeteria Chronicles Pizza, a new educational reader, to all second-grade classrooms in Nebraska. The foundation provided new Taste and Teach classroom grants to enhance learning in the classroom and successfully piloted Walk to Unlock Nebraska. The foundation team also grew this year with the addition of 2 professional educators. The Omaha-based position was made possible by a corporate gift, and the North Platte-based position was made possible by a 5-year commitment from the Rosen Family Foundation. Farm Bureau is working to help its members achieve their goals through not only policy, but also savings on products and services they need to keep their operations running smoothly. Farm Bureau highlighted member benefit partners at events throughout the year, including the Nebraska Ag Expo and Husker Harvest Days. Working with Case IH, John Deere, Granger, and Farm Bureau Financial Services, NEFB helped members power up with Farm Bureau with prize giveaways. It's just one example of the value our member benefit partners add to every membership. The announced retirement and departures of longtime employees at Nebraska Farm Bureau presented a unique opportunity this year to reevaluate staff structure for efficiencies and ensure we continue to be in the best position to serve Nebraska Farm Bureau members and fulfill our organizational mission. Longtime Nebraska Farm Bureau senior economist Jay Rempe will be retiring at the end of the year. NEFB welcomed Austin Harthorn in September to serve as economist. Nebraska Farm Bureau Chief Financial Officer Kevin Birch moved to another state at the end of September. Eric Paseka joined the Farm Bureau team as comptroller in August. The regional manager team became the leadership and field services team, with Adam Peterson serving as the new team leader. Chase Samuelson was hired as the central regional manager. Turnover in the leadership and field services team also brought Kelly DeRee as the North Central regional manager and Samantha Dyer as the Northwest regional manager to the Farm Bureau team. We are excited about the new opportunities to streamline and create efficiencies in our work so we can continue to provide high levels of service to our members. Nebraska Farm Bureau's successes would not be possible without the leadership, wisdom, and guidance of the Nebraska Farm Bureau Board of Directors. We appreciate and thank the board members for their service. Through all the changes and new opportunities, Nebraska Farm Bureau remains strong in its mission, focused on the vision to achieve a great quality of life and prosperity for Nebraska farm and ranch families.